Hey, what's up, guys? It's Steve with the Range Minded Podcast with another tactical tip. Today, we are going to talk about the 4 firearm safety rules. Now, I know when I first started these little tip videos, this probably should have been the very first one, but you come up with an idea, you get creative, and sometimes things just flow as they may. Anyway, let's jump right into the 4 fundamental firearm safety rules. All right, rule number 1. First and foremost, no matter what, we are always going to treat any firearm, whether it be a handgun, a rifle, a shotgun, it doesn't matter. We're always going to treat every firearm as if it's loaded all the time, no exceptions. The reason why we want to treat a gun like it's loaded is just for that very fact. If it is loaded, we don't want to hurt anything. We don't want to destroy anything, okay? We treat it with respect because guns need respect. They are a dangerous tool, a fun tool when used properly, but they can be very dangerous. So number 1, always treat that gun as if it's loaded all the time, no exceptions. All right, number 2, because we're going to treat that gun like it is loaded, we are never, ever going to point that firearm at something that we are not willing to destroy. You see this a lot, especially with new shooters. Sometimes they sweep around, they accidentally point something at somebody else. You've spent any time on the range, you've seen this happen. I've officiated a lot of ranges. I've helped a lot of people on their firearms journey. It's inevitable somebody accidentally points a gun at something or somebody that they don't mean to. We need to mitigate that as much as possible. We never, ever want to point a firearm at anything that we're not willing to destroy. Remember, number 1, we're treating it like it's loaded. So if we're pointing at something and it's loaded, then we've already broken 2 rules. Never point that gun at something that you're not willing to destroy. All right, rule number 3. I'm gonna bring up a little example, okay? Obviously, this is just a frame, okay? Rule number 3 is we are going to keep our finger outside of the trigger guard, alongside of the firearm, until we have made the conscious decision to fire our firearm. Now, this may not seem like that big of a deal, but it is. If people would just keep their little fingers out of that trigger guard all the time, it would probably mitigate so many accidents that we see on the range or whether you're out shooting with your buddies. Please, please, please keep that finger off of that trigger, on side of the frame if you can, outside of that trigger guard, until you have made that conscious decision to fire that firearm. It will save a lot of accidents, I promise you. All right, rule number 4. I was going to say this might be the most important rule, but they're all important. The 4th rule out of the 4 fundamentals is we need to know what our target is, what's in front of our target, and what is beyond our target. We want to know as we press that trigger, once we feel comfortable with that trigger press, we're on target. Once we press that trigger off, we want to know where that bullet is going to end up and what it's going to pass by on its way there. Now, on an indoor range or some kind of an organized range, it's easy to understand where those bullets need to end. It's either going to be in the backstop or the berm. That's where we want those projectiles to end. It gets a little bit more complicated if you're out hanging out in the desert or hunting with your buddies or camping or whatever. So as you go out on the outside world and you want to go do some recreational shooting, you need to make a conscious effort to know where those bullets are going to end up. Never ever going to point that gun or shoot those rounds toward any kind of property or animals or definitely people. There's obviously, it should be pretty easy to understand that there's some big consequences when that comes to play. So always know where those bullets are going to end up once you press that trigger, okay? We need to know what our target is, what's in front of it, and what's beyond. All right, let's kind of bring this all down to one conclusion. Let's meet with all of these 4 rules again. First and foremost, we're going to treat every gun like it's loaded all the time, no exceptions. Because of that, we're never going to point that gun at something that we're not willing to destroy. We want to keep our finger off the trigger, outside the trigger guard, alongside the firearm, until we have made that conscious decision to fire. And the 4th rule is we want to know what our target is, what's in front of it, and what's beyond. We need to know where those bullets are going to end. If you think about it, there's kind of just a logical process of how those things all cascade in together. Learn these rules, incorporate these rules into your firearms use all the time. Teach these rules without exception to people around you. Safety around guns is the number one priority. Having fun is the number two. Safety is number one. As we become good stewards of the Second Amendment, as we're journeying along on our firearms journey, on our path, as we develop these safety rules, other people see us following these rules and they're going to follow the rules. Also, never ever be scared to point out when somebody violates these rules. Your life is important too. Make sure you're holding yourself to this standard and you're holding other people's to these standards when you're shooting. Anyways, I hope you got something out of this video. I appreciate your time. Maybe I missed something. Maybe you have some questions. Let me know. Appreciate you guys. And hey, stay safe. Don't forget, you also got to take somebody shooting. See you guys later.